Hello and welcome to another episode of the Just Go Watch podcast. This week, finishing off the trio, it's Venom, The Last Dance.
Absolute dog shit.
I don't need
Absolute
I don't
fucking
need.
dog shit.
I do not need to see it to know it's dog shit. Yes, sir. We are back as is Mr. Tom Hardy. It's an all English pod.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's all English. Not a yank in sight today.
Yes, that's there we go. So yeah, hatch your plan. Your host, as always, for now anyway. Deej is here. And yeah, guest starring Tom Hardy. Say hello, Tom. I wish. I wish.
I was gonna. Tom, you can't really even do an impression of Tom Hardy because he's like so many different people, isn't he? You know, you could go like.
He sounds pretty London though, doesn't he? His general accent.
Yeah, he's kind of a bit
I don't think
soft-spoken, isn't he? He's really soft-spoken.
Yeah. I think he's quite soft-spoken, but he's still kind of London.
Yes, Hutch. We're on the Just Go Watch podcast.
You Billy adopted the microphone. I was born in it. My bad.
Yes. Your precious listens. We will lead them.
I loved him in. I love him in Warrior Boy. Not Warrior. I don't mean Warrior. I did love him in Warrior.
I
did love him in Warrior. I love that film. Everything already happened.
I really liked him in the one he's in with Shia LaBeouf, where he's like alcohol runner. When it was all what's
it called? Yeah, that's a good film.
It's a good film.
Yeah,
you've got to see it. Anyone listening, watch that film that I'm talking about. That you must know that I'm talking about.
That's a good film.
I'll find it.
Bike Riders, he was very good. He's good in everything, really. Tom Hardy. I mean, when I think about Legend, fucking outstanding, isn't it? That is.
Yeah, that was
Legend.
I'm not usually a fan of films where I'm like, I know these are bad people because my moral center is just I'm unimpeachable. But that was and it's also so memeable. Like how many some people I know people who've not seen the film yet, but they know the little clips from it.
Yeah, I've watched that scene in that pub so many times.
Oh mate,
what are you gonna do with that? Oh, what's that then? It's a fucking rolling pin, Puff. What do you think?
Let me a cake.
That's all now. Don't say that's a fucking tool, Puff. What do you think? No, it's a fucking rolling pin. What are you doing that? Make me a cake. Who are you? Fanny fucking Craddock. Fucking love it.
Yeah, man.
No, Reg, these men are nonsense to a man. Yeah, shootout. It's a fucking shootout.
It's Lawless. Lawless was that other film he did.
Yeah, Lawless. Yeah.
He's so threatening in that. You know, for that one, that film actually, when he started filming it, he'd just done all the beefing up for Warrior. So he was still an absolute unit. And so that's why in that film, I don't know if you've seen, but he's like always wearing like cardigans and like overshirts and stuff to make him look baggy because otherwise he was just looking like
a fucking unit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a unit when he's Bane as well, when he like, don't worry what. Exactly. But then when you think about when you go back to like Inception and things like that, where he's like a completely different character. Yeah, do you know?
Do you know what? He's
must be afraid to imagine bigger, darling. You know, like fucking what a way.
He's not too similar to Gerard Butler in that regard. Do you know what I mean? Like Gerard Butler's been in films where you just think he's just an average Joe, and then he does 300, and you're like, damn.
Oh man, 300! What a film! Don't get me started on that. But yeah, needless to say, suffice it to say, Tom Hardy, like he's one of those actors. Yeah, let me tell you, he's one of those actors where he's worth paying to be in your film, right? Like some actors, I'm like, well, he's just a big name, right? But I wouldn't go and see the film because he's in it. But anything Tom Hardy's in, I will instantly be interested in. It's like saying that, I'm not saying it's the same level of actor, right? No disrespect to Tom Hardy, but like a Daniel Day-Lewis film, right? If I see Daniel Day-Lewis in the film, I'm like, I've got to consider this film, right? And Leonardo DiCaprio. But Tom Hardy's, like I'm not saying he's the same level of actor, but he's not. Tom Hardy doesn't get probably the credit he deserves for how good of a character actor he is, man. I rate Tom Hardy very, very, very highly. Very highly.
He can carry a film, and if I see he's in a film, it can make me want to go see that film, which
100%
can sometimes be important.
That is
Which
very
might-
important.
Yeah. Speaking of Venom, The Last Dance. Yes, this is the third film in the Venom franchise. The Sony owned. That is correct, isn't it? Sony owned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Sony owned.
Yeah.
Hence
Well,
the
not
lack
Sony-
of other
yeah.
Marvel characters, basically. Like semi loaned from Marvel, but rights to complicated bullshit, whatever. And as it's as it says, it is the final one. So
Well,
Yeah.
is it?
well, The Last
Is it?
Dance.
Well, no. Let me. One can only assume you didn't stay for the post credits.
I stayed for one.
Well,
But I do know. I am aware.
Yeah,
I'm
so,
aware.
I mean, I was under the impression it
aware.
was the last one, but is it the last
Yeah.
one? I don't know.
I believe it's now entered full cameo status.
Well, I don't know what that means.
Is-
What are you saying?
Well, I believe. I think Venom's. Well, we're kind of getting to the thing, but whatever. But I think this is Venom's films no longer going to have solo films, but we may well see.
Oh, but he
Venom
might be
appear
in. Right.
as
Okay.
cameos in other movies. That's how. That's
Understood.
where I think this has been.
Understood.
So, directed by Kelly Marcel, and this is actually her directorial debut. She was a writer on all of the other three, and has done other little bits. But this is basically she's not really done much before in terms of directing. So that's probably this is a good place for a directorial debut. A huge end of franchise, big comic book character with a
no
huge
pressure.
Sony film. That's where you want to start. That's where you want to start. She's never directed anything before. She's been a writer, and she produced this one as well as directed, and also produced Venom. Let There Be Carnage. So make it that.
That said,
what you will.
not necessarily the most pressure though, if you think about it, because it's not exactly like you're coming into the third one going, oh my god, the first two were amazing, and there was this ongoing story that's kind of coming together, and I hope they stick the landing. Like they're kind of like three self-contained films almost, aren't they? The only thing that binds them all together is the fact Venom's in them. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing else.
That is extremely accurate as a description of the three movies in the same franchise that could also be separate movies. Runtime of 109 minutes with a budget of. You got nothing on compete today, so you can't technically lose. Or can you?
I will win. And you'll know him, for he will have no competitors. Let me. Oh God, do you know what? When I was watching the end credits, I was like, there are so many people on this film. Like, how have you paid this many people? I was like, the budget must be massive because there's that many people. So I'm gonna go for the standard 200 mil.
Well, you will know him, for he will be surprised at the budget being only 120 million.
Is it? I always say if you're within 80 million, you're correct though.
That is the old adage. Okay, so we do have both domestic and international end of weekend figures. What has it made?
I just don't feel like it's going to have made much. I really don't. I'm going to say 25 mil.
For international and domestic?
I just worldwide 40. 40.
Yeah.
I feel like we're still in Flopsville. 40.
Okay. All right. This number's going to shock you then. 175 million.
175. Do you know what?
The first movie made $1 billion.
$1 billion.
And then I believe that's correct. And then the second one made like 500,000.
No, 500 million. You mean?
Yes, that's what I mean. Sorry, the first one made almost 900 million.
The second one made
And
500 million.
The second one I think made 500.
Oh man, do you know what? I'm just well off on these fucking first weekend. I find this first weekend shit really difficult to judge, man. To be honest,
They are. Sometimes they have a shit opening weekend, but then they sort of come up a little bit.
I never trust that they've got. How can they have the whole weekend when we're still on a Sunday? We're still on Sunday. How can they know what the whole weekend is? So really, they're talking about Thursday previews, Friday and Saturday, isn't they? So
Yeah, basically.
Well, anyway, so that's not bad. That's not bad. That's well on its way to going above its budget.
Reasonably promising. So just quickly before we get into the plot of this one, so we didn't Venom, the first one was before our time in the podcast land, but the second one we did view with the dearly departed Julesy, who actually is what the symbiote was loosely based on. Didn't have the same athleticism in kind of look, but in terms of pure mass and sludginess, that was very Jules-like.
That is where they got it for the idea from. Apart from instead of trying to latch on to a host to try and live a kind of an equal life, Julesy would try and latch on to women and try and siphon away their finances from them whilst sitting on a sofa. That was how...
It's not like Julesy doesn't need them to coexist and live. He just needs to siphon off their life force and leave them a dried out husk just so he can continue living as the sludge. That's his preferred. Yeah. It's like if the host preferred to be just sludge.
Yeah. He does not want to become a higher form of living.
No. And let me tell you, the opportunity has been gifted to him many times, and it has been offered many times, but refused. Politely always, of course.
Yeah.
But we gave that got a 5.6 overall. Let me count. You gave it a 6.5 and probably lathered it in praise, and I gave it a 5. I gave it a 5. I rewatched it recently, and I was surprised at my 5. That was kind. That was kind. I must have been in a good mood. Before we do get into the plot as well, if you are listening, watching YouTube, on podcast, on Spotify, Apple, whatever it is, please give us a 5-star rating, like, subscribe, comment on it, anything like that. Even if you just get a thumbs up and say this is the best pod I've ever listened to ever, or if you say this is the worst pod I've ever listened to, it all helps actually. So go give us some hate, do it.
Do something. I had some good back and forth on Twitter this week with some people who I actually intended to read some of these up, but one of them became a hate-filled argument between me and another fellow, and it escalated into abuse really. So there we are. There we are.
That could be you. That could be you next week, listeners, watchers. All right then. So let's get this show on the road. So Eddie Brock and Venom, after the big battle with Carnage, have been set up and framed for the murder of the detective Mulligan. He's now fled to Mexico, where he's drowning himself in liquor at a bar there. Unbeknownst to him, Null, some unknown bad guy who will somewhat feature in this film, has released some creatures called xenophages to go and get the key that will release him from his prison, which the symbiotes put him in there probably eons ago, I guess. There's also been a lot of other symbiotes who have landed during this time, which have all been captured by the military and are now kept at Area 55, just adjacent to Area 51, which is all being decommissioned with the highly safe acid showers. The military are after Eddie. The xenophages are after Eddie, and basically he can't transform fully because that creates the key, the codex, which is going to lead to the freeing of Null from this prison. What a good idea for a key. He comes across the shopkeeper in Vegas, which is handy, has a dance with her, then gets captured. The xenophage tracks down the base. There's a huge big battle, symbiotes versus xenophages versus military, and obviously then, unfortunately, Eddie and Venom are separated. Venom, the hero, takes out all the xenophages in the aforementioned acid shower, and Eddie is now alone, but remembers fondly his time with Venom. However, post-credits, mid-credits, it's all good. We see that maybe, just perchance, Venom is still alive.
I don't know why I let you do that, because I was thinking to myself, do the plot, Deeds. Do the plot.
That was quite good. I like that one. That was good.
Don't let him do
this. I was good. I was animated.
There's no animation. There's no animation in your voice.
That's as animated as I get. As I get.
You're just telling them the plot, man. Just tell them in it. Look, Venom He's just telling Venom. Noel is trying to get Venom, trying to get the codex so that he can free himself from this prison that he's been put in by the other, by
we're doing it twice now.
all of the symbiotes. And they're on Earth, xenophages trying to catch Venom. Big war, symbiotes. Venom dies. That's it. What's your rating, Dees? Tell me about it. That's what I want to hear from you. That's the kind of passion I want from you. Understand?
You ain't going to get passion with this one. And that's basically what I did. That's basically what I did. Maybe I'm not hearing it. Maybe Maybe I need new headphones.
You're like a newsreader who's on like the 3 a.m. one and knows no one's watching, and he's just like, I'm just going to read what's going on here. No one's watching this.
That's not too far from the truth, you know. That's not too far from the truth. Anyway, no, I disagree. I thought that was all right, but
I'm doing it next week because you're not here.
It depends what film it is. Well, to be fair, you are doing it next week, actually.
Because you're fucking in here.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, why don't we skip to the part where you just tell me what your assessment was and what was your rating?
Yeah, I will. I'll do that. Listen, and I'll tell you why I gave this film a 9 out of 10. Right? I'll tell you. No, I mean, look, right? I said to my missus, right?
This is the disclaimer. This is the comic book disclaimer, everybody. Stand by. Comic book disclaimer coming.
God. Here we go. No, listen, these films are not good films, are they? Right? They are not good films. Like, when I actually think about them, they're like, I don't know, like in this, it's just like fucking not Xenomorph, fucking symbiote here, symbiote there, nameless symbiote. They're all like, they're just, you know, you got all these new symbiotes popping up. There's just nothing to them. It's like, there's just no building of this world, really, right? And the Noel, who's a fucking dope character in the comics, right, is just like, I don't know. I mean, I get from the post credits, maybe they're going to do something with him, so that could be cool. But, you know, as we are right now, I'm like, with Venom as a character and the amount of the subject matter you've got in the comics, I just feel like they didn't really do anything with him, and I'm kind of a bit bored of symbiote versus symbiote, which I think was a criticism we had in the second one. But what saves this film is the same thing that saved the last film and the first film. It's Tom Hardy as Venom. Tom Hardy as Venom and the interplay between them. Like, I know you're going to tell me I'm a bit bored of that now. I've seen it enough. It's happened, blah, blah, blah. Right? I'm just like, nah, I can watch that all day. Eddie, bro, if the film was just Eddie and Venom just doing everyday normal stuff with no other symbiotes and no threat, that's still a film I would watch. Like, if it was like how Mark Wahlberg and Ted, right, but just Eddie Brock and Venom, I could watch that film. So it's really impossible for me not to enjoy it because they are the main characters and that is enjoyable. As a film, there's just not, you know, it's just another fucking bunch of symbiotes doing fucking symbiote shit. Nothing really kind of makes sense. The rules of it doesn't even adhere to the own rules of its own kind of universe and the rules it sets out, really. But it doesn't really explain loads of things and how they happen and whatever. But yeah. I enjoy the Venom part, which is, I suppose, why I would go to see a Venom film. So, did it blow me away? No. Was it any worse than the other ones? No. Was it better than the other ones? Not really. So, I didn't know I'd given the last one a 6.5, but this one I'm going to give a 6 because I did still enjoy it. But really, I feel like the only thing I will say, caveat, is I feel like if you gave me these budgets with Tom Hardy as Venom, I would have come up with better films than they have made by far.
Yeah, you've hit the fucking nail on the head there with that last sentence. Because fuck me, Kelly Marcel. What's wrong with you, girl? How?
There's the passion. There's the enthusiasm.
So badly. How are you fucking up so many easy fucking wins? You moron! Like. Who wrote this? Please put some fucking effort into it. Like, oh my God, this was so shit. This was so unbelievably shit. This was flashing lights and CGI on screen for almost 2 fucking hours because some idiot in a thing is like, oh yeah, like lowest common denominator, that's what people want to see. And then we'll bump it up because Tom Hardy and the Venom character have such good chemistry. Like, oh, I knew this was going to be a shit film from the fucking start when you've got I was in prison. I was like, oh, here we go. Here's your backstory. Who the fuck are you talking to? Your fucking xenophages that you've created whilst in prison that are more powerful than your people who put you in this prison. How are you still able to create that? How are you able to put them in portals? I don't fucking know. Does the film know? I mean, what is that about? Like the amount of contrivance, exposition dumping, where people are talking like that stupid doctor and the general. This place is the most secure place here. We've been studying symbiotes. He fucking knows. You fucking know. The only reason you're chatting this shit is because you think the audience are so fucking stupid that you need to spell everything out. And then the only things you don't spell out are the only things that we fucking need. Why does the Christmas Doctor release Venom? Why has she suddenly got a heart? Why does the xenophage? Why can it only see the codex when they're joined? What a stupid thing that is. Why does it follow then the fucking plane all the way to the base if it can't see? Oh, there's just. Remember when Eddie was just a reporter and now he's taking out Spec Ops people? Oh my God, this was fucking woeful. And it's going to do well and it's going to win. It's going to get money. And then there are good films out there that are well written, that are well acted and perform and everything else that aren't going to get the props. And it does my fucking head in that people will sit there and say, yeah, I actually really enjoyed that. What did you enjoy about it? Please tell me. Like, engage your fucking brain and tell me what was enjoyable about it. If you just say Tom Hardy, well, fine. You can't then rate the film highly. That does not get you above a 5. I'm sorry. That doesn't get you above a 5. This film was a 3 for me because it was just so unbelievably woeful. I am bored. I am bored of it. So I'm so glad. I'm so glad they didn't do the I'm sick of you, Eddie. Oh well, I'm sick of you too. Like, let's split up. Okay. Thank fuck they didn't do that because I might have walked out. Right. Some
well,
positivity.
Well, there we are.
I was quite contained there. I only went on for 4 minutes.
There we are. I said to my missus in the cinema, right? I said, what do you think, babe? She's like, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, of course you did.
So much fun. And I said to her,
mine said the exact same thing. Mine said the exact same thing. And I was like, what did you enjoy?
I said to her, what did you rate it? She went like a 7. And I said, I guarantee you, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I said this at this point. I hadn't even finished the film yet. It was when the dance scene was going on with Venom and that woman. I was like, Hatch will be sitting in the cinema, like literally dying, like hating this with the passion of 1,000 suns, and he will give this film a 3 or a 4. There's no doubt in my mind. And there you are, predictable as always. A 3 or a 3. Yeah. So
I tell you, this film was fucking predictable. Like that acid shower. What the fuck are you doing? Like, oh yeah, we're decommissioning this base. What? And you're just acid showering. Like, the guy who operates the acid shower has to stand within 3 feet of it to activate it. And we're going to show you that really early on because that's going to come up later on. Like, talk about fucking predictable. Also, there's so many bizarre bits in this film. Like the decision making is just utter bullshit. So first of all, they're on a plane going to New York. I mean, let's go away. Let's go right to the beginning. Sorry, the death of Mulligan has been put on Eddie Brock, the reporter, and not the serial killer who was in the same church as the last film. In fact, the 2 killers who were in the same room. No, Eddie Brock, the reporter, who previously was not caught up in that shit, he's the one getting blamed. Okay.
They don't even mention Sean Cassidy.
Fine. Nope.
They don't even mention it.
Nope. That previous film. Forget it. Forget about it. And then, yeah, we've got stupid acid shower. Then we've got Eddie on the plane with Venom hitching a ride. Xenophage comes. Xenophage gets chopped up by the motor and dropped on the floor. Right? Oh, all you got to do then is stay on the plane then. Oh no, Eddie, I've got to go. So you're parachuting down where that monster's just gone. What are you doing? The monsters. Let's talk about the monsters quickly. The monsters that can't be killed, can't seemingly be hurt. What's the point? There's no jeopardy. Like, if there's no victory, only acid can kill them. I'm glad we established that 30 seconds before the end of the film, because obviously bullets do nothing. They can be chopped up. Why can't they reconstitute after it? I mean, what a stupid thing. What a stupid thing. And yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
I've got a break every now and again. I'll come back because there's so much I'm raging on. But you know, interject. I don't want this to be just a
Listen,
3-hour rant.
Your hatred is strong. I feel like you need to rein yourself in, right? You
Mm.
need to pick a subject that you want to talk about that you didn't
Yeah.
like, so that we can talk
Yeah.
about it, and I can tell you why you're wrong or agree with you. All right, you're all over the place right now, right? You're like
I'm angry.
You're like a ball that's seen a red rag, all right? And I need to bring you back. I need to bring you back down to earth. I need to calm you down. And right, there's listeners out here who want to know what you thought about this film. Like, they want to know. They would have known. They would have known. Long-time listeners would have known coming to this pod that you are going to feel some kind of way about this shit. It's the same way as I did. So let's just calm you down, right? And let's get to the bottom of this. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. Whoa,
What's really upset you?
Yeah, what's really upset you here? What's really upset you? What's on your mind? How are things at home?
I did enjoy Tom Hardy and Venom, right? As always, right? He was always going to steal it. And what I'm angry at, I suppose, is that I do feel there is a laziness from the studio. They know they're onto a winner with Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock and Venom. I do think Venom is a touch silly, and I would have absolutely loved an R-rated or 18 version of this,
right?
Maybe even a 15.
Yeah, preach.
Venom is, I wouldn't mind, right? If he was if he had those little silly bits, I don't mind. I don't like it when they get silly, and I'm like, okay, you're just pandering to 10-year-olds here. So if you'd done a little bit of that silliness with some real dark shit, that I actually liked. I know it was kind of cringe. I actually liked it when he was there facing off against the Mexicans at the start in the dogfighting thing. And then he's like, I'm trying to give you a chance. Do you know what I mean? I love that kind of threat. Like,
yeah.
And then Venom comes out and he's like, hola, bitches. I actually enjoyed that. What I didn't enjoy then is the fucking PG rating biting off heads and stuff. And then it just gets a bit silly. Right. He threw a shoe at him. Then you lose me.
I feel like if you'd have given the team that did Deadpool this Venom product, they would have made it just a million times. But 100%, you're right. Venom needs to be R-rated. 100. This is a guy that eats brains and bites people's heads off. Like, this needed to be R-rated. And that bit, like you said, with the Mexicans, that whole bit was good. And then, like you said, because it's kind of a bit darker, and then even then when he does the more silly bits, like when the half the face and he's like, "We are Venom," and stuff, and he's like, "No," and he's like, "I'm sorry, we'll work on it or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, that's funny. I'm enjoying that." What I don't like is then these nonsense bits, like the dancing bit with that, like that bit with the dancing with that was one of the worst.
That was probably where the rage
one of the worst bits of cinema I've ever seen in my life, ever. Like, my missus enjoyed it enough, though. She was chuckling away, but I was like, no, this is garbage. It's garbage because it makes, like, even if I take like Venom as being, this is what Venom's like. Venom is just like silly and ridiculous. One of the things, the rules you've said in this film yourself is he can't turn into this thing because this thing will find him. So why would he do that? And Eddie's like, I told you this would happen. Well, yeah, of course that would happen. And I'm just like, oh god, that was so poor. It just felt so like stupid within like the plot of it. Like you're right. It needed to be a bit darker. It needed to be a bit R-rated. Then with that, and Deadpool's giving you the fucking formula, man, to have that kind of R-rated shit, but with the comedy in there. Like, that's all you had to do. Just follow that fucking recipe, and you've got, this film's going to be bang on. But no, I agree with you 100% in that it's because it's pandering too much to a wider audience. It doesn't exploit the Venom character as much as it could, and it is then probably, you're right, lazily relies on the Eddie Brock and Venom kind of buddy cop thing too much.
I think Vegas was where this film took a steep decline. Like, when they hit Vegas, I didn't even mind the family that love aliens. I didn't even mind them a bit, where you've got the kid saying like, "Oh, I actually don't want to see an alien." You got the family there. I didn't mind that. You kind of sometimes need that little real family connection. I mean, the other thing I'll say about this film is I feel like there is a lot of film that was cut out. a lot of film that was cut out, because we see a lot of stuff where Eddie's like almost pining for the girl. But we see a couple of marriage things. We see that, and Venom's like, "You would have made a great father." Like, and yet we got no reference to her. There's so much stuff. The doctor with her brother. What the fuck was that about? Like, with her arm that doesn't work. I didn't even realize her arm didn't work. I didn't realize it didn't work until the end.
What the fuck was that about? They did a whole thing.
So bizarre.
Like, she was a nothing character. Oh, yeah. Do you know what? I actually hated that whole bit. Like, yeah, you see this whole thing with her brother. It's a nothing bit that has no relevance until like right at the end when she opens up her symbiote
builds up to nothing. It is nothing. Then you've got the general.
She's got electric powers all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's like,
then you've got the general who's like, "Oh, I need the to take the reins of Imperium. I need, give me full control." Like, who are these people? The shadow people. You've not set them up. They're just there. Then the general's like comes in like, I thought he was is it gonna be some sort of weapon? You know, they've done something with symbiotes to make some sort of weapon. No, he's just, oh no, the whole thing's Imperium. It was called Area 55. Was it called Imperium at any point before that? So when he then says, "Oh, I've got Imperium," you're like, okay, is that something I should know? Should that, do you know what I mean? And then all it is him walking in with two guys being like, "Yeah, I'm in charge now."
Yeah,
right.
No, but this is what I was saying earlier.
So there was so much. I just feel like there was so much that I don't know. Have they made a 3-hour film that they've cut? Have they tried to cut stuff out? Where are the ideas here? And how have you not filmed a cohesive film? Because there's just so much. I just think,
this is what I was saying earlier, that like there is no, like, the film is not a good film. It's not a good film. The Eddie and Venom interplay is so good that it kind of masks it, because that itself is in it. It'd be a bit like if you had The Dark Knight, right, with Heath Ledger's performance as it is, with a appearance, like, you know, no difference in the way he's performing, then with just but the plot being absolute dog shit and the film being rubbish and whatever, right? You'd still say watching Heath Ledger doing that is so good, right? And that's kind of how I feel about this. Like, watching the Eddie and Venom stuff, I do really enjoy it. It hasn't got old for me. I really enjoy them. But the film itself it's almost like it's like someone putting loads of salt or sugar, right, in a fucking recipe that's shit, and they're just trying to mask the fact that it's shit by overpowering you with something else.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this,
the amount of contrivance and exposition that is getting dumped. And I always think, like, if you have a film that relies on contrivance where things just seemingly happen, there's a difference between coincidence where things can happen. And I don't mind it. Sometimes you can get some good humor where it's like, that was lucky. That was lucky, wasn't it? You can have humor if that, but this film just relies on it. Exposition, because the film, and it's lazy. The whole thing is just lazy. The only thing that's not lazy is Tom Hardy and Venom as they actually bounce off each other. That, you know, I feel like I'm pretty sure that Tom Hardy had some sort of, he wasn't like writing the script, but he was making some line suggestion. That to me is all. I mean, I'm sure that kind of thing happens all the time, right? Where an actor just chips in and says, "Oh, what if they said this?" You know, once they're quite well established. But there's a lot of it where I think that was quite smart, and that doesn't seem like the rest of this film. So was that somebody else? Was that a Tom Hardy putting it in? But that's never a good sign when things just happen for no reason.
That is the film, isn't it? Like that, the film, you go to see the film, like, because of Venom and because of Tom Hardy. Like, there's no like part of the film where I went to see it because I was like, well, me personally, because I knew about Noel from the comics, that part did interest me. But for the most part, this film, I was just like, I'm going to see it because it's Venom. So they're just, the films are just not good. They haven't thought about them. Like, again, like, I know they don't. Film studios seem to do this all the time, right? They make a film, not really sure if it's going to be successful, so they don't do in kind of long-term planning, right? But, you know, if you're putting this much money into a Tom Hardy Venom kind of film, I would be at least in the back of my mind thinking, right, well, let's make this film to be standalone, but let's think about if we're going to make a sequel where a sequel might potentially go, just so we can put some breadcrumbs in there so that if we do a sequel, this is where it will go, and things like that. Do a bit of planning so that by the time I get to a sequel, I'm like, okay, cool. Now we are probably going to be making 3 of them. So now let's make it so that we've got a whole arc, you know, instead of just 3 self-contained films that don't go anywhere. There's no, like, this one, I don't know, like, in theory, had massive jeopardy, right? Because Noel,
the whole universe is extent.
Yeah. And Noel is like
it's
probably
mad.
the biggest villain, comic book wise, we've seen in any, you know, like, he's up, you know, that's up there with Thanos, Infinity Stone level, you know, level jeopardy here. Like, Noel is a universal level threat, right? But I never really, you know, yeah, right, you've got to go and get Eddie, which again, that codex thing, never fucking explained. Absolute just fucking nonsense. It's just like, oh yeah, they imprisoned me and now I need this codex. Like, what the fuck? There's just, you know, just gibberish MacGuffin nonsense or whatever in it. Like, but like, leave that aside for a minute, you know. It never feels like there's this kind of this massive threat. It just seems like there's these generic AI alien things that are there that are kind of a bunch of other symbiotes that all look like Venom, but we don't care about because we don't know what they're like.
What
as
waste.
symbiotes are
What
fighting.
waste that was. All these other
100%.
symbiotes that are there, all these different colors, different powers and stuff, and we never learn anything about them. We never get introduced to them properly. They're just there, and then within the space of 5 minutes, they've all been eaten to death. And because I don't know them, because I've not been introduced to them, I don't feel anything. I should do. I mean, the whole that last little fight scene, that final third for me, I just thought was terrible, because what we've seen is that as soon as we see the xenophages' sight, right, and they can actually see very little, they're aimed solely for the codex, right, which is bizarre. But they only attacked the soldiers once they started shooting at them. Otherwise, they're not interested, right? I mean, with the creature, to start off the final bit, right? Obviously, we have the xenophage that comes in to the casino because he transforms with a dance. Ridiculous. And then bizarrely after that, so we've previously seen that these xenophages are not interested, right, unless they see the thing, which is why you're able to get away. But weirdly, the xenophage sees the chopper
follows the fucking chopper
and follows it, and you're like, why are you following it? You don't see it. You know, as far as this thing knows, you're not there. And then it crawls into the base behind the chopper. It somehow kept pace with it, follows it into the chopper, so that boom, when Eddie transforms into Venom after he's been shot, he's ready and waiting to get it. So the whole thing is like, how have you written that? The rules which you establish early on, you're just you don't give a fuck. And when you don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck. And it really annoys me that this film is probably going to make a hefty profit, and that people are sat there being like, yeah, that's fine though. Why do you not care? Do you know why? I'm not saying I watch films. We all have films that are your little like, oh yeah, like, I know there's problems with it, but I'll enjoy it, fine. But how can you just have a film where you know nothing about it? Do you know what I mean? You're not there as a comic book fan. You're just there, right? And how can somebody just see Tom Hardy on the screen and think, yeah, no, I enjoyed the film though? That I just can't get my head around it. I can't get my head around it. And then that whole thing at the end, the xenophage. So just stop shooting them. Don't transform into Venom. And everybody just stop what you're doing and just walk away from the xenophages, because they've shown they won't attack you unless you attack them. And as long as Venom and Eddie aren't as one, then you're fine. So all of those symbiotes die for no reason. It's not even like all of the soldiers die for no reason.
It's not like Venom can't even use his powers either. Like, no, he just can't fully turn into fully can't turn into Venom. But
you could have calmly walked out, told General Strickland, right, hit the acid. All right, Venom's going to stand the other side of the acid, quickly turn into him, then turn back, and we're going to trap him in this acid thing and get him acided. I don't know. They don't have any intelligence. We'll just keep going back and forth until they're gone if you want. It's just madness. I don't understand how anybody sees this and thinks, yeah, do you know what? That's a good film. Like, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
No, I mean, it is. I was right. One thing I'll say about this film, right? I was never bored watching this film. I wasn't bored. I was entertained, because again, there's enough of Eddie and Venom as they're on the screen pretty much all of the time to keep me engrossed in this film and entertained. And I was, because I cared about the Venom character, I was like, when Venom died at the end, I was affected by that. Like I was, that did make.
I'll
that
agree
did
with
make
you
me
there.
sad.
I'll agree with you there. That was solely Eddie and Venom there, though. When he's talking about the lethal protector, I mean, I am a sucker for a last stand and a righteous death. You know, where you give your all. I do always dig that, no matter what the film. And again, because it was Eddie and Venom. So I did. It wasn't that I didn't feel anything. I tell you where I didn't feel anything with their stupid montage at the end. I will remember you. That honestly, I was like, I'll remember you, mate. He's like, what? Looking at the thing, I was like, fucking, what the hell is this?
Here's the ones that we got. Here's the ones that we hear.
I mean, that was ridiculous. Who the fuck is? Who the fuck is okay that?
Well,
Kelly,
come on, man. What was wrong with that?
Kelly,
What's wrong with that, man?
No, it was shit, man. It was like
what?
it was honestly,
remembering. It's remembering Venom.
No,
I was thinking that,
like,
mate, that would be a massive loss. Can you imagine the sense of loss that he would feel?
No, I get it, but the cheesy montage where he's like, oh, I remember, like that's fucking awful, man.
Cheers
That
to the ones that were here. Would you not put a drink, bring back all the memories of everything we've been through?
That was awful. Come on.
Oh man, come on. I felt it, bro. I felt it. I felt because I cared that Venom was dead.
I felt the death when it happened. And I was like, Eddie. Oh man, what a way to go as well. Like you're fucking acting yourself to death.
Yeah. What a fucking. It reminded me of Terminator dying. Do you know what I mean? I was like,
yeah. At least he can't feel though. At least he can't feel.
I felt that, man. But I tell you what, I didn't give a shit when the Major blew himself up, and
nope.
I wouldn't have cared. There was
he
no
was
other
the person in the film. He was the same person in the film.
Yeah. But there was no other character in this film. Apart from the family, I didn't want the family to die. But other than that, like the doctor, when the doctor saved the other doctor by turning into the using the symbiote, which why the fuck hadn't she used it already? For fuck's sake, you're the person that's been championing these symbiotes the whole time. You wait till fucking like you're out of danger to fucking use it, pretty much. But like I wouldn't have cared if they died. There was no one I cared about in this film other than Eddie and Venom, and I'm just like, by the time I get to a third film. Should there not be other characters that I care about? Should there not be storyline plots and threads that I'm thinking, I'm looking forward to seeing that conclude? It's just a complete waste of. Again, look, let me compare this to the Batman trilogy. Yeah, you get an intellectual property, right? You make they clearly when they made Batman Begins didn't know they were making a second one, guaranteed, but they had an idea about it because you see that Joker card at the end, right? And the same as in Venom 1. He gets that. He goes and they set up the Carnage bit right at the end of that one. So they must have pretty much known they were going to do a second one. But you've got this intellectual property, right? And Batman Begins makes a kind of a self-contained film to a certain extent because it's the first one, but sets up a bit of lore and mythology. Same as what Venom 1 does, right? Then Batman, the Dark Knight comes in, builds off of the last one. Does something, develops his character, develops the Rachel Dawes character, the Jim Gordon character, that develops the whole character of Gotham itself and the lawlessness that's going on, which then leads into the third one with Bane. And all of it kind of, you feel like you have to see all of the other ones for it to have made sense. Whereas you feel like you could have watched this one and you might think this was, apart from the fact that he's already got the Venom symbiote, right? This could have been the first Venom film. There's nothing in this to really make you think I needed to see something else. I'm just like, fuck, man. Like it's so lazy, so fucking lazy.
Considering that Kelly Marcel was also one of the writers on all three, it's not like you've got someone who's like, I didn't like what they did in the first one. Let me take it a different direction. Because they've now got the symbiotes just landing on Earth, just for bants, right? Because we see the little snippet of the military catching them. They've just landed on a meteor. So in the first film, I thought they were coming here as a little scouting party to take over. So that's not the case now, because now it's like, we're trying to help you. Like, I don't get it. I thought you were here to take over the planet. That was what Riot was going on the jet to do, because he was going to go tell everyone, we got a nice juicy planet here. But we've done away with all that. Again, like
Yeah, well, they try and explain it, don't they? With like, oh, but we have to stop Null or whatever. But like, it's pretty clear that these symbiotes are like good guys. They're like trying to
Yeah.
help people properly, even though they've been fucking kept in fucking chambers and studied and shit. You're just, I don't know, man. I'm just like, no.
I mean,
it really does feel like the people that write these films, A, know nothing about comics, right? And B, just kind of have no real talent at filmmaking. Like I don't mean to be, I don't want to be a hater, right? I don't want to be a hater, right? Listen, you're trying to give me something I love. It's like a girl giving me a blowjob and me saying afterwards, man, that was pretty shit. It's like I'll feel bad saying that because I'll be like, blowjobs are one of my favorite things in the world, man. Should be happy I'm getting one, right? But if it's trash, it's trash. And that's kind of how I feel about these films. It's like Sonia giving me a blowjob, but it's trash, and I'm just like, and I don't really understand why they can't get these things right. I'm really confused by it because it's not.
The other thing that annoyed me is in the first film they was having a real trouble. The whole thing about Eddie being able to that was like a real like holy shit. He's got symbiosis. He's a perfect host. And now it's like they'll just take anyone.
Explain although
what are the chances? I mean, maybe you could say that it was just like needs must.
No, but it's also over in the first one. It's like over time, isn't it? Like the host did great, right? Over time, but
so
again, you're right though.
But then they couldn't fully form. None of them were fully forming, and they were just killing the host. They couldn't fully materialize. That was why when they saw Venom become Venom, that was because he had the good.
Yeah, but that's so like that is so classic of like Hollywood, lazy Hollywood films, isn't it? It's that something that's a big deal. Something that's a big deal in the first one. By the time you get to the third one, doesn't matter anymore. It's like really easy to do. It's like I don't know. It's like it's like them. I don't know. I see it with like I don't know. You take the Hulk for instance, right? It's like the first Hulk transformation takes like fucking 10 minutes and it's really intense, and then by like the next time you see it, it takes like 2 seconds, kind of thing. Like. I don't know.
You can get away with that. You can get away with that and say, "Oh, yeah, he's getting used to it," or like, "Yeah, the process speeds up." But these are like completely new symbiotes at different times, and then
the whole symbiote bit was trash.
Which one?
All of the symbiote usage in this was just trash. Was just trash. The horse? No, the horse was good.
The horse that wasn't bad. That was quite funny.
The horse was good.
Again, there was that bit I know when they landed in the parachute, I was like, that was stupid that they landed, because if they'd stayed on the plane, they'd actually be safer. But once they landed and it was just them two on screen for a little bit, that was actually the better part of the movie for a lot of it, because it's just them two on screen and you haven't got all the shit stuff. And then we go back to the military base and I'm like, oh, for God's sake. And like that other doctor, the one who wears the Christmas badge, like her whole backstory is, oh, my mum made it. Like we don't get she's like releasing Venom and we're like, she's giving weird looks and stuff on screen. I'm like, I've got no idea what that could possibly mean. Why are you giving weird looks? Why have you released Venom? Why have you done that? You've not given any kind of thing like, and also I've never agreed with the general more, because he's like, right, whole universe could end, or at least our world, which is important to us, that could all end if they're both alive. Yeah, kill the symbiote then. If we've got it separate, kill it. Just kill it right now.
Or kill Eddie. Or kill Eddie.
And he does. But he would like, you could kill the symbiote and then it's, you've not done.
Yeah, but no, but he does it, didn't he? Yeah, but he kills, like, literally, he does what you would do. He goes to the fucking cell, takes out. He says, I want control of this. I want control of this now. Yeah, good, cool. I've got control. Cool. As soon as he's got control, goes down to the cell, takes Eddie out, shoots him in the heart. Like that is what you would do.
If you killed killing a human in that bit would be a much bigger deal than killing one of these symbiotes. As far as you're concerned,
I feel like they probably would do that. I feel like if you're talking like high levels of fucking government and defense and all that shit, they had to kill one random person or keep this fucking symbiote alive. And this symbiote is potentially a weapon that's it's all about fucking weapons.
Maybe
they'd probably keep that. They probably would do what they did. That part didn't make sense.
I mean, they did, yeah, because they hid. They acted like Mulligan was dead, so they're obviously not okay. Yeah, so he's coming down. He's going to kill Eddie, and I'm like, yeah, whole universe is at stake, mate. Probably the right decision to do that. You know what I mean? And they're all like, oh my God, he's gone crazy. The general's gone insane. He's He's gonna kill one
you would do
man for
that.
the entire
Yeah.
universe. Like, sorry,
But I
7
just
billion people.
like, I don't know, man. Like, I just didn't care. I didn't care about
Nah,
any of it other than watching Venom on screen. And what I don't get, I really don't get this, right? Is that if I was making a film now, right, off from scratch, I've got to like think of a plot. I've got to try and think of something that's interesting. The beginning, the middle, and the end. I've got to like worry. Oh, is this going to be good? Is this a good story? Are people going to be interested in this? When you're making comic book films, you have none of those concerns, right? Because someone has already written the stories for you. They're all there. All you've got to do is find someone that knows about comics, right? Or invest yourself in Venom lore, go through the comic arcs, and you will find some really good stories in there, man. That you just have to like, adapt for big screen, a la the MCU, right? There ain't a fucking secret why like the biggest MCU films are all the ones that are based around fucking the actual comic book stuff. Do you know what I mean? And the flops are the ones where like they've kind of tried to do them themselves, right? So just go and get a fucking Venom comic book that there are so many good Venom storylines and say, right, we're going to adapt this instead of just doing these. Like, I mean, I know like fucking Noel, man. Noel is such a big that comic book story arc, right? It's fucking massive and it draws in the whole Marvel universe. So like, I get you can't do that here, but just oh god, I don't know, man. I just feel like this is such a paint by numbers thing, lots of flashy CGI, and you have not, and when you could have, it's lacking courage. That's what this film to me.
Why put
It's
the
a
effort
lack of
in
courage
when you know you can do the bare minimum and still get?
Yeah, but even as the writer, even as the writer and the director, it's like a lack of courage for me. Where like, look, we could take some risks and make a really good film here, like Deadpool did. Like, let's do something different. Let's try and be fresh, or we can just do fucking paint by numbers, do what we know sort of works. And I'm just like, man, like, and I feel like Tom Hardy deserves more than that. You know what I mean? Because he is so good, and you could have made an all-time classic a la Deadpool with this character and this cast, right? But you didn't.
Real special.
And they didn't do it, which is upsetting.
The last point I'll make, because fuck me, we can talk, can't we? The last point I'll make is I was doing my research based like you reminded me with all your like the comic book chat after the end of the second one, where you get the post credits where Mulligan has got the blue eyes. I was like, oh, okay, so who's he going to be? And then I started reading about Toxin. And I was like, oh, so he's actually like going to be so I didn't realize there was times when you had Venom and Carnage actually linking up because Toxin was getting too powerful and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, where are they going to go with this? Yeah. So they actually just make one throwaway line that says that Mulligan's other symbiote left him and they've put in some other random one.
Wow.
You wrote that. This isn't Rian Johnson and fucking what's his name in Star Wars. This isn't like some prick wrote something. I didn't like.
You're the same person.
You wrote it, and then you've decided not to do something like with that. Also, why did you not have him just be Toxin? Why do you have to have him as the green one? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Why that? Why have
what a waste of a character as well. What's the point in him being there? Just
I don't know. Like the thing is, if in these other films you'd invested in some of these other symbiotes, then by the time you got to this third film, you'd have been. I just feel like the whole thing is just such a missed shot, and I'm blinded to kind of how big a missed shot it is because of how good Tom Hardy is. But like, if I just ignore the Tom Hardy parts, I'm like,
I see it clearly.
Like, I know, and plus also you don't have the kind of affinity for the comic book part like I do, like because I've got the goodwill towards it. But like, I was literally from the opening of this film, like, oh god, because I saw Noel with his head down, and I was like, yeah, this is good. It's starting with Noel, and I was like, this is gonna be cool. And then as soon as he started doing that fucking exposition monologue, I was like, oh no, you've got this so wrong. You've got this so wrong, man. Why is he, like you said, why is he doing a monologue? Who's he talking to? This is just garbage. Just fucking missed opportunity after missed opportunity, man. Just lucky Tom Hardy is so good. Lucky Tom Hardy is so good.
The only reason that there were sequels. And again, maybe there's still a little bit of goodwill towards some of the comic book stuff and But honestly, I don't know, man. If you keep supporting this kind of stuff, you're just going to get this crap. Directors, writers, they're just going to know that they can just phone it in and they just do the bare minimum, put some flashing lights on a screen and you'll lap it up. Like, please, please. Speaking of, what do you think? And bearing that in mind, what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes is saying?
Critics are not going to like this. No way. I'm going to say critics 40%. Audience, I think audience will still like it to some extent. 75.
You're almost bang on, you know. Critics is 36 and audience is 79.
Oh, that is good, isn't it? That is pretty fucking good. That is pretty good. Yeah. No, I think that's probably about right, isn't it? I just I mean, I can see critics saying, look, there's this. I mean, if you don't like comics or you've got no goodwill coming from the comics and you're not that fussed or you're bored of the Eddie thing, then there's nothing in this film for you. There is nothing in this film. If you are like me and you've still, you've got goodwill for the comics and you're still loving the Eddie and Venom thing, then you can get to the 60s, 70s. So I can see how those ratings come about.
Honestly, I just don't. I genuinely think people like almost. It's literally like they carve out the thinking part of their brain before they start assessing this movie because they're like, oh yeah, I'll give this movie a bit. Why are you giving this movie a bit? Like, judge it on the same. Like, don't let them get away with this. How? I've got one critic here. Oh, Hardy, like Marcel and co seem to genuinely love these characters. What do you mean plural characters? Presumably, you only mean Venom and Eddie because there's no other characters. Like, do you know what I mean? And this is somebody who's like, it's unfortunate that the remaining majority of the runtime is a headache and a half. But as Marvel movies at large begin to wane in quality and cultural relevance, we'll take what we can get. What? Like, they've given it like a positive rating. So like, you're basically saying like, oh yeah, like, yeah, he beats me, but he's nice sometimes and brings me flowers. So I'll just take it. No, there is better for you out there. Fuck me. Oh God. All right. Well, listen, what are you doing with your rating?
I'm tempted to come down. I just really like the Venom character of Eddie Brock and the kind of interplay. Like I really like it. I can't overstate how much I do enjoy that part. Can I still say it's a... think
about that casino scene.
No,
tell me that's above average.
The casino scene in general. Yeah, when Eddie's there with him. When Eddie's there, like, and he's on the he's on the slot machine, like that. I was enjoying.
It's cringe.
No, I was enjoying that because Venom.
Hey, look, it's Jen. Fucking
not what? No, but then when they got up to the room, yeah, that I did not enjoy.
Man,
that I did not. I don't know. Maybe I'll come down to a 5.75. Just because I do stay on the stream, man. I do feel like that Tom Hardy's performance and how much I enjoy that does count for a lot. Because as I say, going through it with you now isn't how I've necessarily felt while I was watching it, and that's because Tom Hardy was so good.
So what does that give us? I'm staying on a 3. I don't want to see this again. Ever.
Let's have a look. All right, it gives us a 4.4.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
There we are.
Well, look, that is our review for Venom: The Last Dance, and I pray that it is the last dance for Venom because I just don't know. I don't know if I can do another one and survive it. So I don't think I'm I'm not a compatible host for these movies. But listen, we have been rambling for almost an hour now. So if you still are listening, please like, subscribe, do all that stuff. I can feel the energy going. I feel like this movie's sucked it from me. I'm wasting away. But please, give us 5 stars. Give us 1 star. Actually, don't give us 1 star. You can
don't give us 1 star.
Give us 5 stars, but give us some hate comments about how wrong I am. I'd love that. But there is only one way that you are going to know if you are a fan of Venom: The Last Dance, and that is
Eddie. Just go watch.